So, we had a productive morning. We had a pipe sticking up out of the floor, I think you probably remember, and we measured first, because you measure twice and cut once. But sometimes you're like, I measured it 3 times, or I cut it 3 times, it's still too short. That's dumb. Anyway, and then we figured out all the plumbing, and then we set this tub. Then we put in the faucet, all the guts behind the wall, and then laid this tile. And we've just got the tub sitting there for now. We're gonna grout everything and do the floor and then put the tub in place permanently. All right, so I want you guys to know a couple things. Number A, I have figured out how to change the future. And I know that you guys are like, time travel? I'm intrigued. Here's how you do it. And not enough people talk about this. I'm gonna change the future, and you can too, by changing the present. I know, it's shocking. Imagine this, you got all these time travel movies, right? And somebody does like one little thing, and if they go back in the past, and that changes like the trajectory of everything.
Because butterflies are really rancid.
Yeah, the butterfly effect. And so, you know, if you're like, if it's that important in the past, it's also that important now, because now will change the future. So if you're like, I want a better future, I want people to be better in the future, I want the world to be better in the future, start changing it now. And that will fix it. So this tub is beautiful. Take a look over here, Jimmy. So we took the spacers out. We haven't grouted yet. We don't have the glass up yet. I know everybody's hating and calling it a prison shower. I get it. You've been to prison. Congratulations. Thanks for telling everybody. I would brag about it if I've been in prison too, let me tell you. If I had a nickel for every time I'd been in prison, I right now would have 0 cents. And that...
You'd be broke.
I'm glad that my money is not based on whether or not I've been in prison, because I'd be so poor. I'd be like, I can't afford a stick of gum. Like, not even that zebra stripe, really horrible piece of wax.
Flavor
like,
goes away so quick.
Yeah, like, it feels like you dropped some sugar on a piece of shoe sole and then wiped it off and were like, here's gum, kids. And look at the happy zebra on there. No thanks. All right, we're gonna go to the upstairs bathroom. Oh, hey there. So I figured you probably want to know, like, how do you put the tile on the wall? And how do you wrap it around the corner? Well, I'll show you. It's not that hard. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably think things like this. A hotel bar of soap. How's that work? Let me explain to you. Is that what you think, Jimmy?
That's exactly what I think.
I figure most people do. I think that I'm like most people in almost every way.
Exactly.
So here's how it works, all right? When you're like, this piece of soap is too small, I want to throw this away. The hotels are like, before you do that, I think we could sell that to somebody. Yeah. Then they take it and you're like, oh, like my good soap? Like, no, we're not interested in your good soap. Like, well, what kind of soap do you want? Like, well, let me tell you. First, we're going to take a dry stone. We're going to take some wax.
Some wax and pumice.
Yeah. Then we're going to take, I don't even know what else. Not things you want to rub on your naked body or your body at all. And they're going to take all that and then they're going to put in a tiny, like, soap size about the size of a nickel. Then they're going to, like, douse it in perfume. You're like, oh gosh, please no.
But they give you lotion.
Yeah, this much.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Like,
I can't get it out of the tube.
Lotion the tip of my pinky finger? Like, that's cute. Anyway, so I think that now you've learned all about how to lay some subway tile and also about hotel soap. So I hope that helps you. I know that it certainly helped me in my life to learn things like that. Because when I get there, then I think, oh, I wonder if they're going to have good soap. But now I know better, so I don't get disappointed.
The answer is resoundingly no.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard no. They'll be like, why would we have good soap? We can give you a hard piece of stone, the size of a nickel, shaped and smelling like soap, kinda. And then, you know what's best? Like, if you go to a nice hotel, you're like, oh, this is pretty crappy soap. But if you go to, like, a Days Inn or something, like a Motel 6, you're like, oh.
What did somebody spit in a plastic bag for?
I don't know. I don't understand why in the world somebody would do this to another person, another human being. Like, put this on your naked body. Like, no, hard pass.
Yeah,
hard pass on that one. So earlier, Mike thought it was funny, and I was like, Mike is funny.
Mike is funny.
I can hear it in the background. He thought it'd be funny And I was like, hey, is anybody over here except for us? He goes, no, it's just us. I was like, good. I'm going to take a leak off the deck. So he's like, I'm going to film it. I'm like, why would you do that? But he did. And then as he's getting done, I'm like, sorry, sometimes you got to take a leak of faith. That's all I got. All right, so hopefully you learned something. Hey there. So, we're kind of in a rush, so I'm going to rush through this. Today, we did the bathtub tile downstairs, and we did this tile over here. We did a couple other little things you guys don't care. I mean, you got other things to do than just watch me work all the time, right? Anyway, so as you can clearly tell, we did this. We still have to get a ledge. We got the wrong one. It's my fault. We got penny tile down here. It's beautiful. Now, a lot of you guys are probably, I don't know, 8 or 19 times a day, somebody says to me, John, I'm having a hard time quitting fill in the blank. Smoking, drinking, doing drugs, whatever it might be, okay? Now, when I was in rehab many moons ago, we had a counselor there, and he said, if you're trying to quit something, then what is your goal? And we're like, quit doing drugs. And he goes, okay, but that's impossible to have as a goal. And we're like, no, it's not. You just quit doing drugs. And he goes, here's the thing. If I tell you not to think about a white monkey let's say on a unicorn with a flamethrower for the next 5 minutes, but then I keep talking about this monkey and all the details about him, how he's got the flamethrower and it's got 2 cannons shooting out,
oh my God,
and he's riding this unicorn, but then it's got it's 2-headed unicorn.
Oh my God.
It's very difficult to not think about the monkey on the unicorn with the flamethrower because it's all we're talking about. Okay?
Yeah, now I can't forget about it.
And so, if your goal is to stop doing something and you continue to focus on that thing, you will fail. I'm sorry, okay? And then he said, how do you know when you get there, right? Like, how do you know when you achieve this goal? Like, just don't do it for the rest of your life, so when you die, you're like, oh, I did it. It's hard, right? Because are you going to quit for a year, and then after a year, you're like, oh, finally, I can get back to doing drugs again. Right. And I can start shooting up heroin again, or whatever it might be. So that's not a good way to do your goal. Here's how you quit something. Are you ready? I'm doing this bad thing. It's a bad habit. It has horrible results. It's doing bad things to my health, my sanity, let's just go down the laundry list. My finances are horrible. Trouble with the law, trouble with your family, trouble with work, everything, right? I have to quit this thing. I know I have to quit it. It's not good. So then you think that, a lot of times on the first day, look, I understand it's really hard. The second day, it gets a little easier and so on until, 32 years later, you're like, why would I do that? I could also take this hammer and smash myself in the head with it. I'm not going to do that either. Nevertheless, change your focus. Find something good you need to do. Start going towards that good thing. This is impossible while you're doing that. You need to get this out of your mind and start focusing on something else. I want to, whatever it might be, learn a new trade. I want to get involved with school. I want to fix my relationship with my family. I want to, whatever it might be, and focus all that energy, all that bad negative energy, redirect it. It's better if you all the way around, like a 180. That's important. I had somebody a long time ago, and they said, "Yeah, man, I was going in one direction. I just took a complete 360." And I'm like, that means you're just going in the same direction, but you spun around and kept going the same direction. That's not profitable. Repentance is, I'm going one direction, correct my course, go the right way, okay? So that's important. And find something else. I suggest follow Jesus. Read the Bible. Find the things in life that matter. Find some hope. Find some love in your life. And then you know what? You're not going to feel like I need to chase after things that destroy me and everything in my life. So I hope that helps. I'm going to go to a birthday party. Not my own. I only have one a year.
Oh, so bad.
I swear, though, everybody I know is having birthdays this year. It's exhausting. Okay. Hey there. So, Jimmy, now, I think it's a well-established fact I'm not very smart. So, I heard about these things called drazers. Have you heard about these?
I believe so.
Yeah, apparently they're very fun. They're, I don't know what that means, but I guess they're fundraisers.
They're fun.
They're fundraisers. Oh.
Yep.
Darn it. I'm so embarrassed. Why do I do this on film? Like, obviously they're trying to raise money. It's a fundraiser, not a fundraiser. Anyway, so I realized...
Jewish holiday, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm not very smart. So I realized that I've showed you this closet several times, but there's no perspective because it's just a gray wall behind me. But we're missing some pieces still. But look, we've got some cubbies here. We got shelves and rods and shelves and rods. There'll be a shelf here, and then a high one for out of season stuff. Like, oh, I need to put my bikini or whatever up there.
Or my jacket.
Or whatever. And then look over here. There's his side. Also cubbies, 2 rows, 2 more rows, one for long stuff like trench coats or his dresses or whatever. Now I don't know yet, we might put a high one and we're still missing some stuff, but I just want to say a couple things. Number 8, I believe in science. You know, a lot of people are like, John, you don't believe in science because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I do. I believe in science and I believe in math. I mean, I think they go hand in hand. Would you disagree?
I agree 100%.
Right. Science and math go hand in hand. Now, what I don't believe in is when somebody starts manipulating the facts and when they start using some trickery so that they can manipulate people. All right. Now, let me get a for example. So I know several tricks that once you understand how they work, they're very, very simple, that I can guess ahead of time what somebody's number is going to be. Okay. I'm manipulating them. I'm walking them down a path. They don't know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing. I'm taking them along, and every time the answer is whatever I want the answer to be. And so that kind of math, I'm like, I mean, technically it's math, right?
Yeah, technically.
But deceitful, okay? Deceitful. You're implying one thing and doing another, and making somebody feel, you know, incorrectly. Yeah, inferior for sure. So there's some science too, and I did a show. I've done a lot of shows, thousands of shows, and I did one. And there's a statistician, so somebody who does statistics, and I knew this, but I heard him say it out loud in front of a crowd, a closed crowd. He said, "I am hired to make the statistics." But whoever's paying me, I ask them, what do you want your statistics to end up being? And I will word the questions in such a way, and I will ask the right people so that you get the result that you want, because you're the one paying me. So you take that however in the world you want to.
Sorry.
So I do believe in science, I do believe in math, but I want to tell you something else I believe in. And this is something that can also be manipulated, but is equally as factual. Faith, okay? Now, a lot of people are like, you can't prove faith. I'm like, okay, you can't. Just like I can't prove what an atom looks like because we've never seen one, okay? If we're being honest. We can't prove how far the end of the universe is because we can't see that either. We also can't prove how old this rock is because we weren't here and we don't know anything past our lifespan. And even if we added up all of humanity's lifespans, it's still not enough to go, we're 4 billion years old.
Right.
Okay? So you have to take that in faith too, just like you would have to take God's word in faith. Now, here's what we can do. We can test certain things, okay? They can test and say, you know, we've carbon dated this and we've tested for other things and sediments, you know, like clearly this layer is newer than this layer.
Makes sense.
It makes sense, right? The same thing is true, like there are things that are consistent in the world that we cannot see, okay? When you pray, and there is no other explanation, and then you get an answer, like a direct answer. One time, you're like, oh, it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
2 times, like, it's 2 coincidences. Consistently, and when everybody agrees, you're like, I feel like this is something we can count on.
Yep.
Okay? This is something I've experienced more times than I can count. Today, already, several times. And so, if you are having doubts, then God says, put me to the test, okay? And I'm gonna give you one example, okay? And I'm not gonna mention any names, but I had a friend and she was like, you're an idiot for believing in God. There is no God and you're an idiot. And I was like, wow, I do not want to be an idiot. So I'll tell you what, just like Elijah called fire down from heaven, let's put God to the test here, okay? Yeah. Why don't you ask God for something that wouldn't happen otherwise? I'm not talking about you're gonna be able to fly or you're gonna win the lottery. I'm talking about, you know, something realistic, but also that probably would not happen. Without a thought, she goes, I want a white owl to fly over my head during the daytime. I'm like, that is a random thing to say. But I was like, can we both agree that this has never happened? There are no white owls around here. Owls don't come out during the daytime. The odds of one flying over your head during the daytime are so rare that we would definitely consider that if this thing happened, this was a miracle and this was an answer to your prayer.
It's a wager I would take.
And she says, absolutely, yeah, there's no way this is going to happen. I'm going to prove you wrong. It's not going to happen. God's not real. I'm like, okay, so let's pray about it. So we did. And a few weeks later, we happened to be in Australia. And while we were in Australia, we were visiting some family of mine, and we happened to go to a zoo because we wanted to pet some kangaroos and whatever. And then while we were there, we were on our way to, I forget what, penguins or something. And then something was closed, but right next to us was a bird show that started now. And we're like, nah, let's go in the bird show. So we walk in the bird show. They bring out this giant eagle or whatever, and the eagle sits there patiently and does his tricks and, you know, gets pieces of squirrel meat or whatever. Then another large bird comes out, another one. And then they bring out, do you want to take a guess, Jimmy?
Condor.
Close, a white owl.
White owl. That was my guess.
A quite large white owl. And every other bird has been very behaved and sits there on the arm.
Yep.
Not this white owl. What does it do? It flies right off of his arm, even though it's not supposed to. And he could have gone anywhere, he or she could have gone anywhere.
Yep.
But where do you think that white owl went?
I'm going to have to say...
Right over her head. Like
yes.
right over her head. And was it daytime?
Yep.
It was. So then it takes a circle and flies right back over her head again.
It didn't poop on her, did it?
No, it did not. That would be good luck though, they hear. Anyway, then we get done with that. I'm like, was that a white owl flying over your head during the daytime? She's like, that's a coincidence. I'm like, but was it? Because a few weeks ago you said there's no way this could possibly happen.
Specifically stated, there's no way that this could happen statistically.
Right, and then here it is happening. And she's like, I will consider this. I will ponder this in my heart. I'm like, okay, good. After that, everywhere that we went, there was white owls. It was on advertisements. People had tattoos. There was stuff on TV. There was commercials. Like on cigarella, whatever they are, packages. They're on the gas station pumps. Like everywhere we look, we're like, God's not just showing you a white owl. He's showing you, hey, I love you and I'm here with you every step of the way.
That's right.
And that's one tiny example. This isn't to say that, you know, everybody needs to ask for a white owl, but God shows himself again and again and again and again. And the more that we see this, even though we're not looking for signs and wonders, the more our faith is strengthened, right?
That's right.
And so I think that that's very important. Now we're going to get back to work because I'm sure you guys have other things to do besides watch me blah, 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 blah. See you later. Okay. So it occurred to me, you know, most all the time I spray paint because, you know, usually I'm doing large areas, but this is a very small bathroom, so I figured I'd just show you how to cut in and how to paint a bathroom by hand. So the first step is, and people can't ever seem to get this, no matter how many times I tell them, is get a lot of paint on your brush. Don't wear this thing out till, you know, like here it starts getting thin. You're like, don't do that. Just dip the paintbrush again. It's not that big of a deal.
Put some product on that brush, boy.
For real, okay? So that's number 8. Letter 2. You notice that I'm holding this paintbrush like it's a pencil and not like it's, I don't know, a baseball bat or something, okay? So you want to paint like this, not like this. Because, you know, I'm not a child, okay?
Not anymore.
Mentally, I am. Now, you want to cut in all this kind of stuff here. I'm going to show you too. You cut around, you know, outlets and doors and windows, all these kind of things, so that you can get a paint roller in there, okay? Which is pretty magical. Now, a lot of people are like, John, how do I know if my friend, well, I'll just tell you, okay? So ask your friend, your guy friend, hey, what's your favorite Madonna album? And if they say Material Girl, then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that guy is gay. But if they say any other album by Madonna, you still know that guy is gay, because no straight single guy has a favorite Madonna album. I'm sorry. It's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of things that are similar between being married and being gay. And I know you're like, that doesn't make sense, but hear me out on this. If you have a floral pattern anywhere in your house, you're either gay or you're married. No single straight guy has a floral pattern anywhere in their house. Okay, here, check this out. If you have, I don't know, a dust ruffle on your bed, you're either gay or you're married. There's no single.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's no single straight guy. It's like, you know what I want? Yeah, man. I want to have a dust ruffle on my vest. It's not happening. If there's a single straight guy that's got one, chances are his ex-girlfriend left it there, and he just hasn't even noticed that there is one at this point. So that's true story. Okay. So this
Bill, are you sure you want this color?
Uh-oh. We're in trouble now. So same thing on this. You want to get a lot of paint on your roller, not just a little bit, right? And then when it starts getting the least bit thin, just dip it again. It's not that hard. Because look, you're not a monster. Now, Jimmy,
Or are you?
Or are you? Jimmy, you got anything you want to talk about? Something's on your heart?
So my heart?
Yeah.
No, I'm okay.
You don't have a heart anymore?
I don't have a heart much. No.
That's legit. I feel very similar. I think I've got like a piece of
ashtray.
I got a big piece of obsidian coal that's very sharp and covered in razor wire at the top of some gauntlet of.
That's very dark.
Well, it is, right? I mean, the thing is, like, at one point I had a heart, but I think it's just been shattered so much and just broken.
Oh my God.
No, I just need a minute. Okay, that's enough. I'll talk to you guys. Oh, that's embarrassing. I'm over here killing time, like taking my union break. I take one about every 17 hours for 4 seconds, and that was it. Anyway, so today, among other things, we put in this garage door opener. They're essential, unless you like manually open up garage doors, which I don't. So we installed it. It was amazing. It's got a push button on the side. It's Wi-Fi enabled. And I know what you're thinking, like, how does that work? I'll tell you. You just, once you get your garage door opener hooked up, and then you get your internet hooked up, which is not hooked up right now, then you download an app for free, and then you can control your garage door opener from your app, from anywhere in the world, which I've done at my house on my garage door openers and my gates. So like, if I'm in Africa, I'm like, I wonder what's going on with my garage door opener. It'll send me alerts, all kind of things, which is cool. So we got that, and this done. We did many other things, shelves and paint, blah, 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 whatever. But what I really want to talk to you guys about is the difference between Peter and Judas, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. These were both disciples, right? And they both betrayed Jesus.
Yes, they did.
Not a lot of people talk about the fact that Peter betrayed Jesus too, but they both betrayed Jesus to the point where Peter was cursing, saying, I effing don't know this guy, right? While they were taking Jesus away to be crucified. Yeah. And then he went out and he wept. And Judas betrayed him as well. And when Judas betrayed him, he went out and he wept. Now, what's the difference here? Okay, they both betrayed him, and Judas basically sold him, right, for 30 pieces of silver, and then went out and wept because he realized, like, I've done a horrible thing. But then Peter, when Jesus rose again, came back to Jesus and made it right. And Judas hung himself, and he died, right? So oftentimes we make a mistake, or we make it on purpose. Nobody talks about on purposes. And then we hold that guilt, and we want to hide from God, and we don't want anybody to see it, because then they're going to know that we're not perfect. They're like, no kidding. None of us are perfect. Go say you're sorry.
Exactly.
Go make it right, right? Go and be like, I did a bad thing, and I'm sorry. I did a bad thing, whether it was on purpose or on accident, and I'm sorry. And so here's a cool thing, right? After Jesus rose again, Peter basically thought, you know what? I'm done. I've screwed up. I'm going to go back and be a fisherman again. That's what's going to happen. And so he's out on the Sea of Galilee, and I've been there. And I was at the place where this happened, and our guide told us this, and I was like, this is such an amazing thing, right? So they fish all night long. They don't catch anything. That's a bummer, right? Imagine you work all day long. You're like, how much you make? Nothing. That kind of sucks. So then they see somebody on the shore, and he's cooking fish up. He goes, throw your nets on the other side. And they did, and it was so many fish that they couldn't bring it in, right? Which is the second time this has happened to Peter. And Peter didn't even bother to pull the fish in. He's like, that's my Lord. That's exactly what he said. That's my Lord. He jumps off the boat, swims straight to shore, and he goes over there and like Jesus, right? Now, the first time this happened, he came up and he said, my Lord and my God, please go away from me because I'm a sinful man. And Jesus said, you're coming with me. You're one of mine, right? The second time this happened, he comes up and he's remorseful. And then Jesus says to him, Peter, do you love me? And he says, Lord, you know I love you. And he says, then feed my sheep. And then he asks him a second time. He says, you know I love you. And he asked him a third time. And he says, you know I love you. And there have been several things where people say there's different kinds of love. There's brotherly love and there's godly love, right? But our guide suggested, look, Peter denied Jesus 3 times, okay? And then he asked him 3 times, do you love me? And I think that it was kind of Jesus' way of saying, me and you are good.
Yeah, we're square.
Yeah, you deny me 3 times, you love me 3 times. I love you too, brother. Let's go do this. And then he renamed him and said, you know, you're no longer Simon, now you're Peter. And on this rock, I'll build my church, because Peter means rock.
Yep.
So think about that. When you're like, man, I've made a mistake. I've done too much bad stuff. I'm ashamed. I want to hide. I don't want anybody to know what I've done. Confess that. Confess it to God. Confess it to somebody that you can trust that isn't going to go blabbing your business all over the place. And get that weight off of you. And get forgiven and stop believing the devil's lies. Because, look, you can live a full life that is full of blessings. And I'm not just talking about financial, okay? I think we all know that. I'm talking about you can be happy, you can have joy, you can have love, you can have peace. The things in life that matter. Because I see people with tons of money and they're empty inside.
Yep.
Don't be that guy. Find somebody to talk to. If you need somebody to talk to, I'll talk to you. All right, love you guys. See you later. Bye. Oh, hey there. So maybe you guys don't realize this, but I'm also an author and a musician, and you can check out my books on Amazon. Just search my name, and they're everywhere. And here's an advertisement for one of them. All right. Anyone who says there is no life after death has obviously never died. I was high as a kite by the time I got there. I dropped 5 hits of acid that night. I made it through the first 2 bands before I started peaking. Then it happened. The pivotal point of my life had arrived. I fell back in my chair, and I couldn't move for a long time. I started to panic, but still, I couldn't move. After what seemed like an eternity, I sat up and looked back at my seat, only to see myself still in it. I freaked out. I quickly put my hands on my eyes to hide from the horror of it all. But when I did, my left eye jumped out of my head and began to twitch around in my hand. I shoved my eye back in my skull and ran my fingers through my hair towards the back of my head. When I did, my ears twisted inside my head and disappeared. They made this awful sucking noise that was horrifying. I felt a big flap in the back of my head that I reached my hand into. I was more than a little scared at this point. I looked around, and I wasn't at a concert anymore. I didn't know where I was, but it felt like hell to me. But that couldn't be. I didn't even believe in hell. I was only 16 years old. I couldn't die yet. I looked for my friends, but they were all gone. In their place were demons haunting me. They were flying around and taunting me. The things I saw were undescribable. My body started falling apart. Limbs were falling off and the pain was torturous. I realized that hell wasn't just a myth or a fable. It was a real place, and I was there. A Wretch Like Me by John Tennell. Available on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.